Hi, welcome to today's inspirational nugget. It is titled, Not About You, But Them. Not about you, but them. We want to talk about the audience assessment. Audience assessment, so to speak. You see, communication is not about you, it's about them. By that I mean it's about the audience. For you to be heard, you need to understand the audience. You need to profile the audience. You need to know the people you want to send a coded message to. How will you do that? In Matthew chapter 13, verse 10 and verse 13 or to 13, Christ spoke about 5 to 8 parables, so to speak, in the book of Matthew 13. The disciples came to him in secret and asked him, "Why did you speak to the audience in parables?" And in verse 13, Jesus said, "There are people who are seeing, but they can't see. There are people who are hearing, but they can't hear. There are people who listen, but they do not understand." Pause. Christ chose to use the method of speaking to people in parables. The disciples do not understand. They are asking, "Why don't you speak to them plainly? Why must you use a parable?" And Jesus said to them, analyzing the audience, their understandings are low. They may look at you as if they are understanding or hearing you or seeing you, but they just do not understand what you are saying. Therein lies a critical lesson to those who want to communicate effectively. If you want to be heard in the true sense of the word, this is the approach to use. You need to profile the audience. So there is an acronym, not originally mine, that defines how to do audience assessment, audience profiling. And we will use the acronym audience to drive home the point on how to assess every audience so that you can communicate effectively in order to be heard. Audience starts with an A. The acronym A means you need to analyze the audience, so to speak. Who are you about to speak to? Who are they? You need to understand, analyze the audience. Analyze the audience. The second point in audience analysis is the you. You need to understand. You need to understand what is the audience understanding on the subject you want to share. What is their level of understanding? Are there people who can deal with complex concepts, or they need to break the concept down to them? Christ analyzing his audience, he understands the understanding of the audience, that there are people who they need to break the concept so low to them so that they can understand. Aside analyzing the audience, you need to understand where the audience are. The third part in audience assessment is to know their demography. Audience is spelled AUD. The D is the demography. The audience you want to send a message to, you want to send a coded message to, what is their level of education? What is their sex? Are they males? Are they female? There is a way to communicate to a man. There is a way to communicate to a woman. If there are mixed audience, male and female, there is a way to position your communication approach. So you need to know their age. You see, when you are speaking to young people, you are speaking to those who are youth, there is a way you communicate to them. When your audience are filled with both the aged and the youth, there is an approach to use. So if you want to communicate effectively, aside analyzing, aside understanding the audience, you need to know their demography. And this was what Christ did. He understood the demography of the audience, and there he knew what coded message he needs to send out. AUD. You need to know the interest of your audience. So audience is spelled AUDI. The I is the interest. That's the fourth point. The point is, don't assume everyone is excited about the theme you want to share, the message you want to communicate. If you're speaking to a child, you are speaking to your workmate, you are speaking to your bosses or your subordinate, you need to know what is the interest of this audience or audience I have. What is the interest of the person I'm communicating to? If you know the level of interest in the persons or the person listening to you, you know how interested they are in the subject. It will inform the communication strategy to employ so that you can get your message across. You get the point. The fifth point you need to know is you need to know the environment. Are there cultural barriers that will make you communicating to this person or these persons difficult or effective? Are there things within the environment you are? Are there distractions? Are there things that are likely to take the person's mind off you within a period of time? You need to know the environment. If there are cultural barriers, you need to understand them so that you can measure the way to counteract all the barriers posed by the culture, posed by the environment, so to speak. Without analyzing the environment, you may be speaking, but you may not be communicating to people. And Christ did this so effectively. Sometimes he just tells the people, looking at the environment, you say that, hey, these persons need to sit, they need to eat before we begin. So you need to know the environment. You need to know the environment so that you can get your message across to your audience. The sixth point is you need to know the need. I'm still on the acronym audience. You need to know the need. The N means the need of the audience. What is their need? Maybe you want to speak today about management, and their need today is how they can improve on their financial gains. You want to speak about spirituality, and the people are thinking about what they need to get so that they can get food to eat. So if you do not assess rightly the needs of the people, you will send a message across and it will not be effective. Christ understood this so effectively. He can just call Philip and say, get the people food to eat. Because looking at the needs of the people, he knows what to do. He can look at them and know that they can't understand higher spiritual things. He needs to use the story of the sower to get the message across. He needs to speak a parable to them, like the parable of the Good Samaritan. Know the needs of your audience. It's very critical. After knowing the needs of your audience, you need now to customize a message. I'm dealing with the acronym audience. You need to customize a message for the audience. A message after knowing their needs, after knowing their interests, their demography, knowing all the stuff we just discussed, you need to now customize a message based on all this information. And the last one is an E. You need to know the expectation for people to want to listen to you over and over again, for people to want to hear you, either at a personal level, at a corporate level, at a public gathering. You need to know the expectation. And this was what made Christ so impactful, that the Bible will say that wherever Christ goes, huge crowds will be following him. Do you want to communicate effectively? Do you want to be heard? Here is the secret. It's not about you. It's about them. You need to do an audience assessment. My name is Godswill TK Mensah. I want to be part of your life as you communicate effectively so that you can be heard. Spend some time and get to my social media handles and tube a freak so that you can get the needed content to take us all to the next level. Stay blessed and be faithful, but know your audience.